What up, this is Phrakture here, and for part 1 of my APC40 tips and tricks videos, I'm going to be showing you a very simple way of setting up your drum loops in Ableton Live to do some crazy on-the-spot shuffling and triggering. Here's a taste of the type of sound you'll be able to produce. So let's start off by creating a new live set in Ableton Live. The technique I'm going to show you right now doesn't require any sort of external effects plugins. All you need to do is find or create a loop or set of loops that you'd like to use together. Since we're just exploring the triggering technique in this tutorial, I'm not going to be creating any drum loops. Instead, I'm going to use two loops I downloaded from freesound.org from a user named Vexed. He creates some pretty amazing stuff, so you should definitely check out the rest of his sounds. The drum loop I'm going to start off with is a classic Amen drum loop, which is very popular in D&B and jungle. I'm just going to locate it using the file browser over here to the left, and I'm just going to drag it right into my first audio track. Since my APC40 is plugged in and ready, I'm able to see the loop light up the first square in the clip launch area of the APC40. For a clean performance, I want it to be easy for my fingers to move about while launching the clip, so I'm going to dedicate a section of the clip launch area specifically for triggering this set of drum loops. Now I'm going to select the drum loop on the audio track, and I'm just going to create a duplicate by pressing Ctrl D. The big trick behind this technique is the quantization. That's what will make sure that what you trigger launches in rhythm with what is already playing. I'm going to open the launch options for this loop by clicking on the L located under the clip menu. For this setup, there is always a main drum loop that you come back to and other smaller snippets that you trigger and shuffle across. This is going to be my main drum loop, and in the launch options, I'm going to set the quantization to 1/2. This means whenever I press the button on the APC40, it will only launch or relaunch on a half beat with the rhythm of the track. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Since it will now launch with a 1/2 quantization, I will select a half note's length of the sample that I'm going to always loop. I now have my main drum loop. Now for those tiny snippets that I jump to back and forth during a performance, I'm going to select the duplicate that I created earlier, and this time in the launch options, I'm going to set the quantization to 1/8. This means that the loop will now trigger in sync to an 1/8 note with the track. I'm also going to make sure that the loop button is highlighted, as it tends to be by default, and I'm going to use the locators to select an 1/8 note's length of the drum loop that I want to use. I want to set it up so that after playing the snippet, it will automatically go back to the main drum loop again. To do so, I have to go to the clip follow action and set the follow action for the clip to first, which means after this plays, it will automatically play the first loop in this series of clips, which again is my main drum loop. So the main drum loop was set to launch after the snippet. Since that main drum loop comes in with a half beat quantization, it gave time for that snippet to loop and play out for a bit. This is good for keeping it in rhythm and, making it sound legit while you're playing it in the track. Now I'm going to duplicate that snippet a couple of times by clicking on it and pressing Ctrl D. I'm going to select those individual clips and move the locators around to pick different parts of the loop to use. You can see now that different parts of the clip launch area are lighting up with the new clips that are added. Now I'm just going to play around with it a bit and show you how easy it is to flow. Earlier, I dedicated a section of the clip launch area specifically for this drum pattern. So now what I'm going to do is assign those buttons on the clip launch area specifically with the clips that I have created. To do this, I'm going to press the MIDI button up top, which enables MIDI map mode. Basically, whatever parameter I click on now, I can press a button on the APC40 to assign it to that specific parameter. I'm going to select all the audio clip slots I have on my main audio track and assign them one by one to the individual squares on my APC, like so. Now whenever I press these buttons on my APC, it's going to trigger that selection of drum loops. After I'm done, I'm just going to click the MIDI button again to exit MIDI map mode. Just like before, I'm going to duplicate these snippets and select different parts of them to use. This time under the sample menu, I'm going to change the transposition for some of them. At this point, it's honestly just a lot of fun to experiment with the loops and just play with it. It's really easy to just get the flow, get the rhythm when you're performing. Now I'm going to throw in that second loop I downloaded from freesound.org and also use parts of it as snippets. So now, just like I did with the other snippets, with this loop, I'm going to set the traumatization to 1/8, and I'm going to set the follow action to first. So after it finishes playing, it'll by default go back to the main drum loop. So at this point, I've really explained all you need to know for the technique. Now just, take those drum loops and select different portions of them or different parts, experiment a lot, change the transposition, add some effects to the drum loops individually, and you can really go all out. You don't have to use this specific amen loop. You can throw in a different drum bass loop or any other loop that you'd like, and yeah, just work with it, have some fun. Anyways, I'm just going to continue on with the organization of the snippets, and I'm going to show you what it sounds like. But yeah, thank you for watching this tutorial. I hope you learned a thing or two or were inspired to further explore this amazing piece of technology known as the APC40. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below or send me a private message and I'll get back to you as best as I can. Please rate and share this video, and also subscribe to me to stay updated with more videos to come. You can hear some of my work at music.phrakture.com, soundcloud.com/Phrakture, or right here on my YouTube page. You can follow me on Twitter at Phrakture Music and like me on Facebook at facebook.com/Phrakture Music. Cheers.